Welcome, my friends, to the deck tech for token black guys, starring everyone's favorite goth, Teysa Orzo Scion. Get off my back, Dad! The world's bullshit! So, yeah, I have to admit that this deck was more difficult than my other decks to put together, and I'll tell you why. I had so much going on, so much I wanted to cram into this deck that I had to make some really tough and tear-inducing choices with my cuts. So I ended up being, but I did follow my rules that I established in that voting video a couple weeks ago pretty well. I definitely have one of each Planeswalker for black and white that can be there in existence. I have a bunch of annoying black cards that'll make people roll their eyes. I have a lifelink sub-theme. I even have a graveyard recursion sub-theme as well. And of course, I have huge token shenanigans going on everywhere. So this deck is a jack of all trades and a master of none, perhaps, but I think that will make for more fun videos. Do you not think so as well? Why have the same game going on over and over again when you can have a myriad of things going on? Indeed, so let's get right to it and start analyzing these cards. The only land of note is the Vault of the Archangel. Giving all my guys lifelink is fantastic, sure, but making all my 1/1s and 2/1s be able to trade with anything that doesn't have first or double strike, yes please. That sounds like it's too good to be true, but it is true. Believe it, internet, it's true. The other lands, nothing of note. Got my usual suspects. Let's open this a little. Boseiju, Maze of Ith, Strip Mine, Reliquary Tower. I probably don't even need Reliquary Tower in this deck. I guess if I have Phyrexian Arena going on, but whatever, it's here. And then just, stuff that you would expect. Fetid Teeth, Godless Shrine, blah, blah, blah. And I only had room for 3 mana accelerants. This makes me sad. I wish I had 5. But I had to make some tough cuts. Like I said, I really wanted to cram everything in, but I couldn't, so I only had 3. I have kind of a low curve, so I think it's alright. But yeah, only time will tell. I did practice this deck 6 times. I did pretty well. Won 4 games, lost 2. One of the games I lost wasn't even close. Grand Arbiter Augustin just had an answer for everything. Took me to school, bent me over, stuck a ruler up my ass. All the terrible stuff that a Grand Arbiter Augustin deck likes to do. It did 100 times over. And the other deck was a lot closer. He got a pretty sweet-ass combo going on, and I couldn't do anything about it. But the 4 that I won pretty handedly. So this deck is good, and I think it could be better too. But we'll see. We'll find out together, but that's later. Let's get back to the cards. This is my sacrifice/graveyard recursion creature pile. Start out with Crazy Eyes Braids. No matter where you move, her eyes follow you. She's got lovely lipstick on, though. She's an annoying creature. Your opponent has to sacrifice an artifact, creature, or land. It's one of the only ways I can actually get rid of artifacts in this deck. And you do too, but you don't care because you have 1,000,000 tokens. And if you're living the dream, you also have Grave Pact, so your opponent is doing it on your turn as well. Viscera Seer, I like that it doesn't cost anything to sacrifice a creature, and Scry in Commander is always nice. I'm all for Scry, I'm not for the top, but I'm all for Scry, so let's do it. Reassembling Skeleton, the very first creature I thought of when I thought, what is a good thing to sacrifice? Reassembling Skeleton. And when Teysa's out, which should be all the time, the skeleton turns into a spirit. And then I get the skeleton back to make more spirits. And the cycle continues forever. It's the circle of life if life were in a cemetery. Revelark. I've always wanted to play the Revelark. Never have. Nearly all of my guys have 2 or less power, with a few notable exceptions.
So Revel Arc should be good to bring those dudes back. Yeah, I don't see why not. And also, it's like a swan wreath or something, right? I mean, what is this fucking thing? It's got 2 sets of wings, and it's a Christmas ornament. I don't know. Moving on. Sadistic Hypnotist. I really like this card. I liked it back when it was a standard, and I like it now. Again, you don't have to pay anything to sacrifice a creature. Lovely. And you get to make your opponent discard 2 cards, which is pretty dicky. Karmic Guide. Card that's played against me constantly, a card I'd never used. We're going to try it out. Protection from Black, I feel like, is probably relevant in a lot of games. And why not bring back any creature I want when Karmic Guide comes into play. And if I graveyard recur Karmic Guide, she comes with a Christmas present that we put under the Revelark tree. Shieldred Whispering One, not really much to say about her. She's perfect, but she's not a looker. I wouldn't do her. But other than that, yeah, she's pretty awesome. Then I have my other creature pile having to deal with lifelinks and utilities. Gotta get that land, and old Mule Goat is there to do it. Vizkopa Guild Mage, giving all my tokens lifelink to help stem the bleeding that I will take from the Bitter Blossom in Phyrexian Arena and assumedly my opponent. And also I can make them bleed with the other ability as well. Blood Artist, speaking of bleeds, here is the King of Bleeds, the Grand High Chancellor of Bleeds, the bleeds, who bleeds, all bleeds. Yeah, I feel like if I get him out early enough, 10 to 15 life could be earned by this fucking guy. He's that awesome. Fleshbag Marauder. Oh, God, I can't even look at that picture. We'll look at Hypnotic Spectre while I talk about the Fleshbag Marauder. Make your opponent sacrifice something. If I have Grave Pact, my opponent has to sacrifice 2 things. I have Graveyard Recursion, so the Fleshbag will probably sacrifice himself, and then I'll recur it later. It's awesome. Hypnotic Spectre, a great and annoying creature that isn't annoying enough to make my opponent concede in theory, but annoying enough to make him roll his eyes and probably give his computer monitor the finger should the Hypnotic Spectre ever hit him. Discarding a card is lame, and discarding a card at random is even lamer. And look at this fucker's feet. They're the biggest feet that have ever been on a creature, proportionately, that is. It's madness. Some Lacrum, sure. Cryptghast, I hear he's a great commander card, so we'll try him out. Extort's always fun, and even funner than that is making all my swamps 2 swamps. Feel like that's fine. Honestly, I'm not completely sure he belongs in this deck. I think really, most of my cards are cheap enough that I don't care that all my swamps are 2 swamps. But if I ever get, Pontiff of Blight online, I'm certainly going to be happy Cryptghast is there. Phyrexian Obliterator is the quintessential annoying black creature. I cannot honestly think of a more annoying black creature for your opponents to face. He's such a piece of shit. Having to sacrifice your permanents every time you even chump block this guy, which you can't even do very well because of trample, is such a pain in the ass. And that's why he belongs in this deck. I said I'd play a lot of annoying black cards, and that includes creatures like Braids and Phyrexian Obliterator. Briefly mentioned the Pontiff of Blight before. I feel like Extort with all my cheap cards is going to be great, and we'll see. And also, I'll have lots of tokens out, so lots of Extort opportunities. Agent of Masks, not too sure about it, but I think it's going to be good. Stem the bleeding from the cards that bleed me. And I feel like every time it happens at the beginning of the upkeep, your opponent has a twitch in his eye, I just got hit by that thing? Really? The advisor who may or may not be a woman? Certainly a boy in drag. Yeah, this is definitely a crossdresser. Look at him. Look at this crossdresser. I mean, that's fine. Crossdressers certainly are welcome in the world of Magic the Gathering. And I think I found your champion. And then I've got my token-related creature pile. Soul Warden, because all the tokens need to give me life. Mentor of the Meek, because all the tokens need to give me cards. Twilight Drover, because, oh, Jesus Christ, Twilight Drover is the best. That's why I actually played this guy and Teysa during one of my practice games, and it was just disgusting. Removing +1/+1 counters to make tokens that I can sacrifice to make counters, to make tokens, to make... it goes on forever, and it's madness. Scar said, High Priest. I really like this guy. Morbid's really easy to trigger in this deck, and I don't see why I wouldn't want a 5/5 black flying demon. I don't see why I wouldn't. Lingering Souls, on the other hand, is the card. If I had to cut one thing in this deck, it might be Lingering Souls for Return to Dust. The first time I die by artifacts or enchantments, I probably will do that. Because as it stands, I really only have Austere Command and Braids to get rid of artifacts and enchantments. Not good. Well, I guess Mortify. But, I feel like this could save my life sometimes. If Teysa's out, I really need to exile something. Oh, look, yes, I have 2 or 4 fucking spirits that I can use to exile something. Hooray! This is good value. So, it's here. Sengir Autocrat, make some black tokens. Bloodline Keeper, make some black tokens and then make them bigger. Also, if I have Sorin online, make those tokens bigger. Hero of Bladehold, make tokens bigger when you attack, and make tokens every turn when you attack. I really like Hero of Bladehold, even if she is a reject from the Road Warrior movie on her weird futuristic steampunk steed, while her, I guess, tribe is looking on, like, with the sun shining in the background, like she's the chosen one. I don't know, man. There's a movie to be made with Hero of Bladehold, that's for sure. Endrixar, Master Breeder. I like this card because it implies that there will be a Thrall Uprising, should there ever be 7 or more. And they will overthrow their master, Endrixar. The flavor is wonderful. His massive utility belt will not save him from the Thrall Uprising. But really, he's here because I can make a bunch of tokens that I can sacrifice or chump block or what have you. Good stuff to turn into spirits. Grave Titan, such value. You need Grave Titan in a black token deck. You can't do without him. He's too sweet. Skeletal Vampire, one of my favorite token makers. Another card where I really like the flavor. Where, oh, he's gonna die? Better eat a bat. What? It's so funny. He just shits out bats and then he eats them. I'm sorry, I love it. Original Ravnica creature. I really liked it in Standard back then. I really tried to make it work in Standard anyway. It wasn't easy, but I really tried because I think he's sweet. I'm happy to put him in this deck. He makes tokens. It's rare to have a black creature that could just keep making tokens, after they initially come into play. This isn't green. Green does that with like half its goddamn creatures, but Skeletal Vampire is one of the only ones in black that I could find. Alright, so now we have our removal/utility pile. Condemn, sweet. Oh god, Skull Clamp. Don't even get me started on Skull Clamp. When Skull Clamp and Bitter Blossom come down, the opponent will concede that turn. Mark my words. Or they will concede as soon as they realize that I'm drawing 2 cards a turn with Skull Clamp. And I would concede to that after a while. I'd probably last like 3 or 4 turns, foolishly thinking that I'll be able to overcome such stupid card advantage. Or that I would draw like my one removal for Skull Clamp in the entire deck. But it's too nasty. It's just disgusting. Ashnod's Altar, good way to sacrifice creatures. I do have some graveyard recursion, like I mentioned. So it's fine to get those creatures back. And if I do it if I do it, I can get some mana to cast my bigger spells. Yeah. Mortify, sweet. Phyrexian Arena, sweeter. Sweetest, even. Phyrexian Arena, it's really hard to lose a game when you have a turn 3 Phyrexian Arena. Marshall's Anthem. So, going along with my theme of graveyard recursion, one of my many themes, I decided to use this instead of the new Spear of Heliod, but I did contemplate, the decision. It wasn't easy. And only because of that minor theme am I going with Marshall's Anthem. Whip of Erebos. Did I mention that minor theme? Yeah. Returning target creature from the graveyard. Sure, let's do it. Also, lifelink with all the tokens. It's awesome. Grave Pact, just the fucking best. Like, Grave Pact is the bread and butter of this deck. I get Grave Pact out, then suddenly Teysa's sacrificing 3 creatures, then my opponent's sacrificing 3 creatures, and I get to exile one of their creatures. It's super sweet. It's the best. Meekstone. There are going to be occasions where I'm not going to want to play Meekstone. Occasions where I have Shieldred Whispering One out, and my opponent's on a 2 or 3 turn clock, and Meekstone would ruin that plan. But more often than not, Meekstone is just going to be a boon and make my little dudes go in there and take care of the business. Because I don't have access to blue, so I don't have any unblockable stuff. And I don't have access to green, so I don't have any overrun stuff. My little guys have to get in somehow, and Meekstone helps it. Spawning Pit, the absolute best fucking shenanigan token dude thing that ever did their done. I mean, it's awesome. Just getting all these little token spawns, and it's another sacrifice outlet. Now, granted, Teysa is not going to want anything to do with the creatures Spawning Pit makes. I completely concede that. However, they're still chump blockers, and it's still a sacrifice outlet, and I still love it, so it's here. Deal with it. Bitter Blossom, mentioned before, just a fairy a turn for life is such an easy trade, especially since it's a flyer. And if those flyers have Vigilance and are now 2/2s, all the better. Honestly, this would be here even if it was just for Vigilance, because the only thing better than having an army of tokens fly into your opponent's face is to make them be able to stand back and block the next turn as well. Monarch Ascension, token white guys, am I right? Devout Invocation. So, tap any number of untapped creatures you control and have them shit out some Asian. Shit out some angels, not Asians. Your guys don't shit out Asians. All my Asian viewers, I swear that was an accident. I apologize profusely. I know that you don't come out of people's rear ends. Angels do. That's a fact. Angels come out of butts, never Asians. Unless they're gay. And they're... Okay, no, enough before I get myself into trouble again. Devout Invocation, let's try it out. Seems great. High price, seems great. And I got my Planeswalker and God pile. Erebos, God of the Dead, I imagine will always be devoted. I've got so many black mana symbols just everywhere. I'm bleeding out my eyes with black mana symbols. This will be a creature a lot. I'm stealing a lot of life from my opponents, so the other ability, the opponents cannot draw life, can't gain life, should be relevant as well, and since I'm getting all that life, why not spend it to draw cards? Like God of the Sun is, on the other hand, I will never get devoted. I can't imagine this ever becoming a creature, but that's okay, because Vigilance is great in this deck, and it also makes me 2/1 Cleric creatures tokens as well, and this deck likes tokens. So we'll do the God double feature, why not? And then we've got the Planeswalkers. Sorin, Lord of Innistrad, with the exception of Elspeth, belongs in this deck more than any of the others. It makes tokens better, and I get to get rid of my opponent's 3 biggest threats if I should ever get Sorin's Masterwork online. It's stellar in this deck. It belongs here, it lives here, it makes sweet, sweet love to my deck forever. Elspeth, same deal. Of all the Elspeths, this was a no-brainer as the one to choose. Putting 3... I mean, her +1 puts Teysa online just by herself. So, essentially, if I have Teysa out, it's +1, exile target creature. You know, that's awesome. And then the other 2 abilities are extremely relevant as well. Giving all my creatures flying and +2/+2, all my little guys will probably make me win that turn. And destroying all creatures with power 4 or greater will be very helpful as well. Gideon, I mean, he's better than the other Gideon, this version, and I'm sure I'll destroy the errant tapped creature or two. And, he protects other Planeswalkers by sacrificing himself. So, I guess he's alright, but I feel like if I didn't have to play him, I wouldn't. Liliana the Veil, same deal. None of the Lilianas really appeal to me in this deck. However, this one appeals to me the most because I have some graveyard recursion. Her discard ability could be helpful. And, who doesn't like making people sacrifice a creature? Sure, it's cheap. So that's my Liliana. Better than the other versions, I think, for this deck. Ajani Goldbane, though. I'm happy to play this, especially over the other Ajani. It's -1 ability, especially. All my guys are small. Let's make them bigger. Let's give them vigilance for the turn, sure, but specifically, let's make them bigger. And let's make them bigger at least 3 times before I have to worry about Ajani dying. That's awesome. That could really, really help. That could turn the tide of the game for me. Like I said before, all my guys are so small, I need ways of making them be able to win. There you go. And the best way to make them win is to clear the board. So it's easy for me to get a bunch of guys out really quickly. So if I play Hallowed Burial, for example, put all my opponent's creatures, including their commander if it's my lucky day, onto the bottom of their library, and then playing out my little dudes, that's fine. It's not going to be that tough to do it. And all my other ones are conditional. I can get tokens with Martial Coup and Phyrexian Rebirth. Or I can, destroy all artifacts and enchantments, which I'll probably, every time I draw Austere Command, I'll probably be destroying some artifacts or enchantments. But if not, destroy all creatures with converted mana cost 4 or greater will be extremely relevant. So says the Retribution of the Meek. And Hour of Reckoning gets rid of everything but tokens. I've got a lot of tokens in this deck. I don't know if you've noticed. And then we've got the annoying pile. Contamination, most of all, maybe. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to feel like a huge piece of shit every time I play Contamination. This is not me practicing what I preach. Contamination is an asshole card if there ever was one, and I will remind you of that fact every time I play it. However, it is not as big of an asshole card as, say, something that destroys all of your opponent's lands outright, because there are ways of dealing with it. First off, I have to have the creatures, and I'm going to have to keep sacrificing them every turn. And I also want to have access to the white mana, so a lot of my creature makers are white. A lot of them are black as well, and I feel like I'd be able to stretch this out for at least 5 or 6 turns in a pinch if I really had to. But if your opponent can ride out the hate train, it's possible to come back. It's not likely, but it's possible. But yeah, piece of shit card. But I promised I would play piece of shit cards in this deck. I said I would play all the annoying black cards that I can think of, and that is maybe the most annoying card I could think of. Temporal Extortion, that's more like it, even though I have no idea what's going on in this picture at all. Seriously, what the fuck? It's awesome, because I can take another turn, or you can pay half your life. Either way, I'm happy. Painful Quandary, every time this card is played against me, I know it's not going to kill me, because you can play around it, but I roll my eyes and I make this sound. If my opponent can do the same, that's all I ask. Polluted Bonds, another annoying card. Sure, play your lands. I'll just be gaining life, and you'll be losing life. Choice of Damnations. First off, this art, right? I mean, what the fuck? No, you dreaded army of scarabs. You stay away from my special jug. I love it so. Yeah. Way to go, guy. Way to go. Okay, so my opponents have to make a choice. They choose a number. Either way, I win, because I get to choose from there if that opponent loses that much life, or they sacrifice all but that many permanents. I'll obviously pick whichever choice is most beneficial to me, and it's all awesome. Debtor's Knell is the card that I would be playing, even if I didn't have that rule about the annoying black cards, because it's just amazing. Every time Debtor's Knell is out, if they cannot deal with it or my graveyard, I'm going to make a prediction and say that I'm going to win. I'm going to win the game. It's a great card. It's super obnoxious. Getting a creature back from the graveyard every turn right onto the battlefield is stupid. It's stupid. And really, 7 mana is not too much to ask. Especially in an Orzhov deck with the, triple hybrid there. Really annoying. And it's also the kind of card that your opponent thinks that they might be able to deal with for a few turns, so they're not going to concede right away. And only after I get back, like, Shieldred and the Solemn Simulacrum and maybe one other little dude that they're like, wait, no, this isn't worth it, and then they quit. Curse, especially, Debtor's Knell and, like, Grave Pact. Ouch. Curse of the Cabal, man, I would love to see this card played, but I have a feeling that this is going to net a lot of concessions as well. Just having to sacrifice one or two things every single turn so this thing doesn't explode and make you have to sacrifice half of what you own, like the worst divorce ever. It's just too much to ask for your opponent to stick around and trudge through that. They have to really think that they have got some awesome shit to just be able to win the game in a few turns. Or be playing a token deck themselves, because really they don't care if they're playing a token deck. I'd love to see this come into play. I don't think that I'll ever see it go off, but maybe it could be out for a few turns while my opponent dicks around, sacrificing one or two things to it. Should be fun. Either way, that's the deck. As I said before, played 6 games, 4 wins, 2 were losses, but I think this deck has potential to be super duper party pooper awesome. So you and me, internet, we're gonna find that out together right now.